I needed a trailer specifically for my sailboat. After checking the availability of them, factoring in transportation costs and taxes, I decided to design and have my own built. So that's what we're going to do on this episode of The Art of Boat Building. So to get started with my trailer design, I needed to know what size the boat is. And of course that's pretty easy to determine since I have plans for the boat. One of the things the plan does have, which is pretty critical, is where the center of balance of the boat is. That way I knew where to locate the axle. Now the other thing that I did is that while I was out at boat shows, I just really paid attention and observed a lot of boat trailers, specifically ones that held boats similar to a Haven 12.5. The other thing that I did was I contacted friends that had 12.5s on a trailer. And one of those people was Chuck Jenkins. And if you're not familiar with Chuck, you should check out his YouTube channel, Jenkins Boat Works. He has a whole series on the Haven that he built and also shows the trailer that he purchased that he had his boat on. So he was very helpful in giving me some measurements and some critical ideas of member sizes and things like that in designing my boat. Another big help that I had was I came across this book by Glenn L. Witt on how to build boat trailers. Now some of you may be familiar with the Glenn L. boat designs. So he's quite famous. He built his designed boats way back in the 50s. At any rate, this book is just packed with information about all of the different things that you need to know. The first thing it talks about are axles and springs, and also has a section in here about the frames and different kinds of frame construction and so forth. So this boat was a tremendous help in helping me figure out frame dimensions and sizes of members in order to build the boat. Well, after I had determined the length and width and so forth of the trailer, I then went to seek out some of the parts that I would need, mainly the axle and the springs. I came across this site named Johnson Trailer Parts, and I see that it had a 3,500 pound utility trailer kit. So that, with those dimensions then, I was able then to put together a preliminary drawing. And this is the preliminary drawing that I did, that I then shared this drawing with my fabricator, and he made several suggestions on how to simplify the design and actually make the fabrication a little more efficient. So once I got that all done, then I was able to put together a more complete drawing that I did in a full-size 1-inch to 1-foot scale. And once I got that done, I then digitized it, and I have that drawing right here of the trailer that then I sent that off to the fabricator, and then they started fabricating the trailer for me. I'm fortunate to have had a fabricator that I've worked with for many years, Heartland Fabrication. I checked on the construction several times and was available to answer any questions. Here we were discussing the angle of the hull supports. After assembling the parts, Bob did some final welds on the fender supports. I want to thank Chris from Heartland Fabrication, and especially Bob for his fine craftsmanship. Once the trailer was complete, it was time to haul it home. Well, I'm pretty excited to get the trailer back from the fabricator, and I've got to say I'm really pleased with the work that they have done. Many of you may have think, well, Bob, you know how to weld, why didn't you just weld this yourself? And indeed, I probably could have done that. I would have spent a lot more time than what the fabricator had to spend on it. And also, I don't really have the time and equipment to do the proper job. The other thing is this trailer is going to be carrying some precious cargo many thousands of miles out to the East Coast. And I would much prefer have a certified welder put these joints together than myself. Now, I'm really pleased with the work they have done. There's a saying that says the devil is in the details, and the fit and finish that they did on this trailer, I'm quite amazed at. As you can see, some of the welds are really handsome welds, and where the joints come together, they've really taken the time to polish them up. Well, now that I've got it back here in the studio, I can start working on finishing the trailer. So obviously it needs to be painted, but before I paint it, what I want to do is to locate where all of the wiring harness goes, because there's some holes that I'll need to drill in there to accommodate the wire. So the most important part are the taillights. So here I'm back here at the aft end where the taillights will go. You can see I had them weld a piece of angle iron on here to accommodate the lights. What came with the kit is this light here, and there's two issues with it. One, I don't think it's very substantial. The other thing is that it is not submergible. So since the trailer possibly could be submerged to this point, I purchased a submergible taillight kit that is like this. So this will go on this bracket just like that. Now over here on the port side of the trailer is where the license plate goes. So I also purchased a metal license plate bracket that will go on here like so. It actually goes this way, like that, and like that. So what I need to do first is to drill 3 holes in here, one to accommodate the wires that will go through a hole like this, and then the bolts that hold it on. So that's my first step, is I'm going to locate and drill the holes for the 2 taillights, and then from there I'll kind of figure out how the wire harness can get to the tongue. Well, I designed this bracket to be 12 inches long, which is what it is. So I'm going to find the center here. Now, when I put the light up here at that center point, you can see some of the bracket sticks out a little farther. My experience has been that with the tail light out close to here, that it's gotten damaged before from other trailers that I've owned. So I've designed it so that there'd be a little extra out here to guard against that. So now that I found that center, I can mark that out where those holes need to be drilled. To get started, I drilled a 3/16 inch pilot hole through the angle iron. Now the angle iron is 3/16 of an inch thick. So the rule of thumb is you should never drill a hole bigger with a twist drill than the thickness of the metal. If you do, what happens is the burr on the back tends to want to pull that bit all the way through. So one of the solutions to that is using step bits, which I have several of them here. So here's my 3/16 inch pilot hole. So basically twist drills, the cutting is just out here on the edge, on the tip of the drill. With the step drills, the cutting edge is this edge along here, like this. So what happens is now that you've got the hole drilled through there, it's just cutting on the sides, enlarging that hole. The other thing you need to know is the distance between the top, how much it will cut through. Now this bit is just right on the edge of cutting 3/16 of an inch at a time. So the other bit is one like this, which has a little bit longer bit to cut through there. So as I said, this is the edge that does the cutting right there. So this bit here starts at 3/16, which is the hole that I've already drilled, and the holes that I need for the bolts to go through need to be at least 5/16, which is this one right here. So if you can see that on there. So I'm going to drill this through there to that 5/16. Now for the hole where the wires need to go through, I will use one of these to get a larger hole in there. One of the nice things about this bit is it also leaves a little tiny countersink in there for the next step up. So all I'll do is go on the back side and clean that up the same way. Well, I've got all of my holes drilled in order to hold the wiring harness. And what I've decided is I'm going to start back here at the tail lights, and then it'll go under the back there and through this center, underneath this center channel, and then into this square tube that is hollow that'll go up to the coupling that hooks on to the truck hitch. Now, in order to secure the wiring harness, I have these little clips here that have little rubber grommet on it to protect the wire. And what I've done is I've drilled and tapped several holes in here, and that will receive a number 1024 screw in there that I can then fasten that to the bottom. So now that I've got all of those holes drilled, the next thing to do is to get the trailer jacked up and get the tires off of it, and then start cleaning it up and ready for some primer. Then wipe down the entire frame with some acetone to remove any dirt and grease. I sprayed the final coat with Rust-Oleum spray paint and used undercoating underneath the fenders. Well, I've got all of the trailer painted, its final paint, and now what I'm going to do is fish a cable through this tongue piece up to the front and start pulling the wiring harness through and get it all wired up. Now that I've got the lights all attached, I need to splice the wires on here and get the proper length. So I've got the wires stripped back here. I'm going to use these little heat shrink wraps that you can buy in the right size for the wire. So I'm going to put this on first. It'll slide right up on there. Now the splice I'm going to do is called a Western Union Splice, or sometimes it's called a lineman's splice. And it's basically taking the two wires like this and crossing them and then going around like so. And then what you want to do is you want to wrap the wire back on itself. And I'll do this side. Now this type of a wrap, it's called a Western Union Splice because it was used in telegraphs, and it's probably one of the strongest ways that you can make, especially if there's something going to be tension on there. Because if I pulled on that, those knots will get tighter. So now we just take this shrink wrap and bring it down over the top of it. And then we just want to heat it up and it'll shrink on there. You can see it's going to make it a nice watertight connection, and it's extremely strong. So we'll get the rest of them done and get the other side wired up, and then we'll be ready to move on to the next thing. So the next thing I want to do is to line the inside of this C-channel here so that when the ballast keel will sit on top of there, and when the boat is, being brought out of the water or being launched, it will slide across there. We don't want that to scratch. So the best way to do that is with a product that is a high density polyethylene sheeting, and that's what I have here. So the panel I have here is 2 foot by 3 foot, and my channel is just a little over 6 feet. So I should be able to cut pieces out of there and piece it together. So if I look here at the channel at the bottom, it looks like not quite 6.5 inches. And this way I've got 1 3/4 inches. So I'll cut those up and get them glued on there. So I've got my panels all cut. One side has got a little texture to it, and one side is very smooth. So I'm going to put the smooth side up, mainly because I'm going to glue this down to the steel channel here, and if it has a little texture, I'm assuming the glue will bite a little better. So here's my centerpiece, and then I've got 2 pieces that are cut that'll go here on the sides like that. So the adhesive I'm going to use is this Lexel, and one of my boat building clinic guys, John, is building this trailer also, and it was recommended to him to use this in that it sticks literally to anything, even glass. So I'm going to put a bead of this under there and get it all glued in. So while that glue is setting up, I'm going to start working on the hull supports, and that's what these angled brackets are on here. Now, the way that I'm doing this is I've got a piece of scaffolding here. I bought this from online from a scaffold mart. Now, the reason I bought it online is that generally these are in a fixed position, these pads, and this one will swivel. So that way, because the hull is lots of different facets on there, it be able to turn this and be able to get it so that that pad on there will fit directly against the hull. So this is designed to go directly into the support like this. You can see that it's way too long at this point. So what I need to do is to cut this off. And the way I'm going to determine that is that I'm going to take the turn knob here and put it all the way to the top. So put that all the way as high as it will go. Now what I'm going to do is measure in here how deep this tube is, and it should be somewhere in the 14.5, yep, 14.5, exactly what I had designed. So that's as deep as it can go in there. So what I'm going to do then is from the top of this, come down 14.5, and I'm going to cut that part off. So that's the first step, is to get all of those trimmed up. Now that I've got these supports cut to the proper length, what I need to do is to put a pad on here to protect the hull. So what I've got is I've cut some plywood squares here. Now they're 10 inches by 10 inches, and I've drilled some 1/4-inch holes and then countersunk them so that a carriage bolt will sit in there. And I painted the back side black so that it'd be a little finished. And this will get bolted on here like this. And once that gets bolted on, then I will take some carpet pads here like this and glue those onto the pad. So that's my next step, is to get these 1/4-inch carriage bolts through here and get these bolted on. At this point, some of you may be curious as to if I'll make the plans for the trailer available. Yes, I will. I've already shared the plans with John, a member of the Boat Building Clinic, Boat Building Boot Camp. It is one of the many benefits of being a member of this online community. John lives in Virginia and has built a Haven 12.5. Here's his trailer in orange primer. Well, there's the trailer all completed. So now what we need to do is to get the boat hoisted up on the hoist and put the trailer underneath there and see how she fits. I'd asked my friend Steve to come by and give me a hand and put an extra pair of eyes on the boat while I got it positioned onto the trailer.
It's going to be its home.
So it's like, my, this is cushy.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
So
And you got your camera up. And
yeah.
Yeah. Well, have you done a test lift?
No, not yet.
Uh-huh.
A little bit.
It's right at the very tip of the skeg.
Yeah, let me go right here like that.
Okay. The air already.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Oh, oh, oh.
Not up yet.
The pad is off over here. It's off the pad, but it's not off the keel. So we're kind of tilting, I guess. Is it off your pad?
Yeah, seems like we need to be back that way.
Oh. Well, is it slipping forward?
Yeah. Tied the two hooks together so that they wouldn't slip off of the keel.
See light between them. Heavy on the bottom.
That's what we've got here.
Okay.
Okay, we have 22 inches, so we should be okay.
Should be okay. Yeah, no.
I'm going to back up the trailer now.
All right.
Okay. Go straight back then, yeah?
Well. That's pretty close, huh?
Yeah. We'll set it down there and see what happens.
See if you can slide it in. Ready for hell.
Yep. Okay, we'll get this strap a little bit out of the way here.
Yeah,
Resting on there. one is too. Well, there you go. Got it boat all on my new trailer and it worked out great. I want to send a special thanks out to Steve for helping me out with this. It's clearly a two-person operation. So this gets me one step closer to getting it launched. Now, speaking of launching, in the next newsletter, I'll have information about the date on when the boat will be launched officially. So until then, thanks for watching, and remember, if you're going to make it beautiful.